Hello, this is Module 7, Functional Requirements for Bibliographic Records, or FRBR. FRBR is a relatively new concept in cataloging, so let's talk about it very generally a little bit and then try to break it down into its parts so we can better understand FRBR and also how it functions in the newer online automated catalogs that work with a relational database kinds of framework. FRBR, or Functional Requirements for Bibliographic Records, is a conceptual framework for catalog records. So they're not rules. It's really a framework for understanding the different parts of the catalog records and how they relate to each other. And FRBR is designed to bring integrated library systems into the 21st century by using a relational database model. Records previously were what are referred to as very flat. That means it was one item, one record, and there was a lot of repeat information when you had items that were very similar to each other but differed perhaps by a publication date. And so FRBR will enable online catalogs to be more like what you are seeing at Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, where you have reviews and you have pictures of covers and you have suggestions for related items. And it will also make cataloging easier because much of the catalog record will already be available online. FRBR is governed by IFLA, the International Federation of Library Associations, and this is because in the globalized catalog environment, really you need to have an international body governing catalog concepts and cataloging records. Now, FRBR is really a model and not a rule book. However, it replaces AAC-R2R, which actually is a rule book. So we're moving from sets of rules to models and guidelines. And hopefully this will open up cataloging to more types of people who will be more inclined to use these rules, and more our catalogs and our search engines will be searching and presenting information in more and more of a similar manner. So let's talk about FRBR as a concept. FRBR is all about the item, which when we refer to an item, it typically means the item in hand, whether it's a book or a DVD or a particular website that we're looking at. And so the idea behind FRBR is that an item is comprised of some very local information, but it's also comprised of other more standardized pieces of information. It's related to other works in specific kinds of ways. So FRBR is about items and their relationships. And typically when I think of FRBR, I like to think of FRBR from the bottom up, because at the bottom of the item relationship hierarchy is the item itself. It's very concrete. It's what I'm holding. It's what I'm looking at. And as you go up the hierarchy, the concept becomes more and more abstract. So when we're talking about item, we're talking about basically what we have in hand, the library copy of the published work. And then when we're talking about a manifestation, we are still talking about a concrete item. It just doesn't happen to be in the library at the time. So manifestation is that particular published work. Maybe there's 50,000 copies of the 1984 Sound and the Fury corrected version. The library has one specific copy, but there's 50,000 other manifestations out there. And then as we go up the hierarchy, we have the concept of the expression. And this is all the expressions of that particular manifestation in all of the different languages and in the different editions for that particular published work. So maybe the Sound and the Fury has a number of different works, a number of different expressions, but the 1984 corrected edition is a particular expression of that work. And then the work itself is essential information about a particular published work, such as the title, the author, the format, and in its different formats. So, The Sound and the Fury as a book is one work. The Sound and the Fury as a movie is another work. And the Sound and Fury DVD version of the movie is an expression of the Sound and the Fury movie. That's a work. So you can see as we go about talking about items and their relationships in this way, you can see how one item can be related to a vast world of other items. And typically when we're searching in a library catalog, we don't see the items and its relationships. But now, in this new kind of concept, we can start seeing a richer description of that item and all of the various expressions that it's available in. So, for example, here we have a work, Gone with the Wind. As we know, Gone with the Wind existed first in a novel version and then later in a movie version. Those are two different works because they are completely different intellectual representations of Gone with the Wind. So we have the work level, and then let's talk about the expression level. For the Gone with the Wind, the novel, we have as an expression the original text, we have the critical edition, and we have the translation. In terms of the movie, we would have the original version as an expression of Gone with the Wind, the movie. There could be later expressions available, but this expression is the original version. In terms of the novel, one manifestation of the original text would be its paper version, its book version, its availability in PDF format, or its availability in HTML format. So the manifestation really refers to the type of format that it's available in. And then in terms of an item level, your item in hand, you might have two copies in the library, one of which is an autographed version of the novel, and number two, it might just be a non-autographed version in the novel, and you have copy 1 and copy 2. So that's the idea behind Ferber, and this chart shows that from the item level to the work level, we have a number of different entities and relationships, and so now a library catalog can begin to describe these rich entity relationship levels. And that's really important because that's what Google does, that's what Amazon does, that's what Barnes & Noble does, and so library catalogs also need to be doing these same things. So you can see Ferber concepts expressed already in library catalogs records. So for example, this library catalog record shows that the work Hamlet, which is located in this part of the library record, is expressed within this particular item as a French translation. And then its manifestation is the translation by André Gide in 1946, and the item itself is copy 1, that's in the Jefferson or Adams Building General or Area Studies Reading Room. So you can see that in current card catalogs, all of the elements of a Ferber catalog record is already there. However, a relational database would make links between all of these different elements of a record, and so that would make it a record that could be manipulated in different ways, as opposed to this record, which is fairly flat. Now, we have some catalogs that are already working with Ferber concepts, and here is an example of what's called a Ferberized catalog record. And you can tell it's a Ferberized record because you'll start seeing some hierarchies that you'll be familiar with if you become familiar with Ferber. So, for example, we have Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. At the work level, we have the English version, the French version book, the English version book, and the English version projected mediums, typically referred to as films. Then at the expression level, one expression is the 2003 Romeo and Juliet English version. And then at the manifestation level, this is the 2002 Cambridge University Press edition, and then another manifestation is the 2000 Oxford University Press edition. So two manifestations here of the expression Romeo and Juliet English book version. Okay, and so for the item, we have the, and typically an item will have a call number approach to it, but here we have the comic book version of Romeo and Juliet, 2003 Portland Timber Press, that is contained in this particular library catalog. And so currently the vendors are preparing for Ferber catalogs, and so the next generation of catalogs will have Ferber features. So you'll start seeing how the pieces of a catalog record can get pulled out for different purposes. Let's say you want to see all of the manifestations available for the English Romeo and Juliet play, printed version of the play. Let's say you want to see all the different works available on Romeo and Juliet. You want to see the translations. You want to see the films. Let's say you want to see how Romeo and Juliet in a visual format, what all the expressions available there are. We have the film. With the film that was done in the 60s, we have the film that was done earlier than that. We might have films done later than that. Then with the manifestations, do we have VHS, DVD? Who were the film studios that did that? And then what can you find in your library catalog at the item level? Also, when you have Ferber records, the school library media specialist will only enter item information such as the call number, barcode number, and notes. It will make cataloging much, much easier because most of the information about the record will already be done. And so if you're interested in more information about Ferber, there's resources available in the module folder. And then there are a number of different PowerPoints and text files that you can access, and also there is an online catalog that is available that you can explore to see the Ferber record. So that is the end of the Ferber module, and I encourage you to explore these different catalogs to understand this concept in more depth.